I'm very delighted to be here because it's a large audience in different countries. And especially good morning is for most of the audience, but some audience for good afternoon or good evening. Today, I want to introduce and to present some of the evidence from Japan because I have been involved in cardiovascular disease cohort as well as the dementia studies recently. Okay, let's go on to the. Okay, that's there is no commercial relationship to disclose. And this slide illustrates a strong trend for cardiovascular disease mortality between the half century. As you can see, the stroke mortality, Japan is the highest mortality, showed the highest mortality rate in 1960s or 50s. And, Finland, UK is lower. And then after 1980, there was a large decline, but still lower, still higher, maybe double rate of the stroke mortality compared to UK and other USA and other European countries. However, on the contrary, coronary heart disease is the opposite direction. UK, Finland, the USA the highest mortality in 1960s. Japan has the lowest mortality, and the UK is going down dramatically, and Japan is still continuing to decline, even though it is the lowest rate in the world. And there's some differences, 3, 4, 5-fold higher in England compared to Japan. So such a peculiar phenomenon in Japan, higher stroke rate and lower coronary heart disease is not, is only observed in Japan. This is WHO statistics and reported in 2011. And the stroke rate is higher in Japan, Korea, and Asian countries, and Russia, China, and Central Africa. And the ischemic heart disease is like this, is European and Russia. And more importantly, excess mortality of stroke compared to ischemic heart disease is confined Asian countries, East Asian countries, and some of African countries. So so what's happened is we have a good story about stroke mortality decline during the past half century. However, situation is maybe changing in terms of ischemic heart disease. This slide is national statistics in all Japan, Tokyo and Osaka metropolitan cities, and rest of Japan. This is man's data. Is all Japan in every age group, ischemic heart disease mortality decline. However, in the metropolitan cities, in the age of 30, 49, young men, there's a decline is not manifest, pronounced. And the rest of Japan is going down dramatically. So what's happening? Maybe we have a slight increase BMI in Japanese population past 20 years. But decline in the systolic blood pressure is very substantial, and also moderate decrease in smoking rate. So net effect of is let's say some increase in blood cholesterol from 150 toward 200. So I mean a net effect of cholesterol risk, coronary heart disease risk is declining in overall Japanese population. But some, urban population there is a same different story. We also found very long-term cohort and also cross-sectional studies. We found urban male employees, middle age, there was an increasing incidence of ischemic heart disease. Also, urban male resident, middle age, there's also increase, a double increase between the two. 1980 to 200. So now let's go into the Dementia Research we have a good cohort in sex circulation risk in community study, studied from 1960s, and then continue to over half century. We conducted a matched case control study for dementia research. We also introduced JPS study, another large cohort, 10,000 people is studied from 1989, surveyed for follow-up for 20 years. We hope and presented some of the result from JPS study. Japan's next study, another cohort, is still also studied 5 years or 7 years ago, but we evidence of dementia research is not limited. So today is mainly result from this study and a small fraction of the evidence from JPS study. So before going to present research result, we have a good system, very unique system, national list for dementia, food and disabled activities. So we have some criteria: no disability, presence of disability, but no need for care. This was 1 grade. Second, A grade, disability only at home. Second, B grade, disability both and out of home. And a larger, advanced criteria from 3 to M. M is needed for special medical care. And we conducted a some validation study to standard is diagnosed with neuropsychiatrist. And we find 2A or more is sensitivity 73, specificity 96. So we found that this system can be used for epidemiological study for dementia. So we found in the SAC study is we did using this system. The system is is started in 1999. So we had doing a lot more. Is 1983 study. We did a repeated baseline survey, actually annual biannual surveys, and we have many data set. And then we started dementia surveillance and to also stroke surveillance, coronary heart disease surveillance. So we construct nested case-control study design. So let me show you some of the evidence from our core study. And already there's a definite probable risk factor: hypertension, heavy drinking, smoking, diabetes. We just present some of fundoscopic change in the early phase of our research, and also possible risk factors: inflammatory, anti-inflammatory marker, antioxidant marker, and diet. So many audience familiar with fundoscopic examination, but not with some of the audience. So this is an examination and scene of fundoscopic examination, and it is a fundoscopy finding. And it says you can is this a vein in the retinal vein and retinal artery? This finding is also narrowing arterioles, small artery. This is a good finding, is a useful finding for detecting dementia. Predicting dementia. So this is a sex study we found previously 2017 association between retinal arteriosclerosis, small artery pathology, and atherosclerosis, and the risk of dementia. So there's a 1.6-fold higher risk of dementia in the hypertensive arteriosclerotic changes. So this one, inflammatory factors, markers. This is a serum, serum C reactive protein and risk of dementia. This positive finding, positive association only confirmed, confined to persons with history of stroke. So as you know, we didn't classified Alzheimer's disease, vascular disease comprehensively, but we found we had the data of history of stroke, so we separate out persons, dementia persons with history of stroke and without history of stroke. This is like a surrogate marker. And we found dementia with history of stroke is 1/3 of all dementia cases. This 1/3 of proportion 1/3 is corresponded to the result of Hiroyasu study based on autopsy study. So it's a Hiroyasu study is diagnosis Alzheimer's disease versus vascular, as dementia. So we have the same proportion. However, as you know, is Caucasians and European, the USA, maybe vascular dementia, not smaller, maybe 15% of total dementia. On the other hand, Alzheimer's disease is over 70 or 80%. So you can say it's a hypertensive. Stroke is dominant in Japanese population, probably some of the Asian population. So vascular dementia is more common compared to Caucasian population. So let me see this one. Okay, raising. Next one. Next one is a coenzyme Q10. Some of the audience not familiar with this is a marker of antioxidant marker. So there's some trend of inverse trend, but not straightforward, not dose response function, but there's some inverse association was found. This was very good. It's a very important finding. Is antiplatelet, anti-inflammatory marker is alpha-linoleic acid. It means vegetable source N3 fatty acid is associated, inverse associated risk of dementia. There's a fiber intake and risk of dementia. Why the fiber intake is associated with reduced risk of dementia? It's maybe fiber is anti-atherogenic or atherosclerotic, and some of the other markers, for example, is other markers such as to reduce formation of beta particle in the Alzheimer's disease. So it's B intake. B intake, soy intake is very common in Japanese population, and we found the B intake is inverse associated risk of dementia, and total dementia is not manifested, but with a history of stroke, there's inverse association, and also is what's going on is what type of B intake is associated with the risk of dementia. Is a natto, is a fermented bean, is probably is associated with a reduced risk of disabling dementia. So another evidence from JP study, they are examined every natto, miso soup, and tofu, and also taking an isoflavone intake. And again, a natto is in only women. Although only in women, there's inverse association. And also is that the inverse association district confined to more pronounced in the younger ages. So a challenge for cardiovascular disease and dementia in Japan, as other countries, this is a dementia, but patient is increasing up from 2020. almost 3 or 4 times higher. And CKD and the chronic heart failure is also increasing. So we need to endo and defect such a as manifestation. So is increasing with the rapid aging. So we need to conquer such a health issue, metabolic risk factor, younger generation, and also primary prevention, hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia may from early life, and disease advancement should be strengths in Japan. Maybe as other countries is also such a as a message was applicable. I hope. Thank you very much.